Beside your evident indoctrination into the religion of Christianity, how do you justify the adherence to such a specific ideology rather than one of the many others present across the modern world? Very easily, the basis of evidence. And I like the tendentious words, your evident indoctrination. How do you know it was indoctrination? Because I said my parents were Christian, but I didn't tell you anything about them. Because you see, I come from Northern Ireland. That's probably the reason that you said that. But my parents were most unusual. They allowed me to think. My father handed me the Communist Manifesto when I was 14. I said, should I read that, Dad? He said, yes, you need to know other worldviews. Our home was one of the most vigorous, intellectually vigorous discussion. I woke up to Christianity as one of the most intellectually stimulating ideologies, if you want to call it that I'd ever met. Now, to say this just shows that you don't know the background. My parents gave me space to think. They loved me enough to do that. Many of my contemporaries weren't given that space. The moment they got to university, their pseudo-Christianity dropped off and disappeared. But I recognize the force of what you've written. And I told you, but perhaps you weren't listening when I said it. In my first week at Cambridge, I made a decision to get to know people that didn't share my worldview. And the way in which my Christian convictions have grown through the years has been by being vulnerable to its opposite at the highest level. Now, I know of no other way of dealing with this than that. Because, yes, there's a danger of indoctrination. And if the person that asked this was an atheist, well, let me just tell you a little story. Would you like a story? Yes, well, it's time for a story. I debated, as was mentioned, Peter Singer. And I told the big audience in the Melbourne Town Hall about my parents, you see. And Singer comes up with this issue. He said, there you go. He said, there's my main objection to religion. People always stay in the faith in which they were brought up. And I clapped my hands mentally inside my head, and I thought, this is going to be real fun. So when I had a chance to speak, I said, Peter, well, I did tell the audience about my parents because it's important for us to realize that none of us starts neutral. We all have a worldview that we believe. The question is, on what basis? So I said, Peter, perhaps it would even the playing field if you were to tell us all about your parents. Were they atheists? He said, yes, they were. Oh, I said, how interesting. So you stayed in the faith in which you were brought up. Oh, but he said it isn't a faith. And I said, Peter, I'm really sorry. I was under the impression you believed it. Cyberspace went wild. The main issue being, here's one of the world's leading philosophers who doesn't realize his atheism is a belief system. That's a very serious mistake. And it comes out of the false definition of faith, a religious word believing where there's no evidence, and leads to nonsense like Christopher Hitchens, our beliefs are not a belief, our faith is not a faith. And Richard Dawkins, atheists have no faith, and then he writes a whole book about what he believes. This is sheer nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. But that was very revealing with Singer. And that is a typical stance. I'm an atheist. That simply means I don't believe in God. But the flip side of it is they do believe in the naturalist philosophy of existence. That's why Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, is not half a page long. I am an atheist, atheos, no God, full stop. No, because he wants to give reasons for naturalism. Do you see? So this is, well, that's all I'm going to say about this.